Hello, this is another do-it-yourself video. We had a 1999 Saturn SC2, I think it was, and I forget what size engine it was. It was not the hopped-up like dual overhead cam one, I don't think, just a plain Jane one. Anyway, it has a single coolant temperature sensor, and it was my sister's car, and she said, "Look, this thing is got no power and stalls and idles really bad, and when it's idling, it's like it's a coal burning machine. There's so much soot that comes out of the tailpipe." So anyway, I jumped in it. She says, "Gee, it's a piece of junk. I think I'm going to just give it away for parts or whatever." So I said, "Well, let me look at it." So I hopped in, had a look, and she had just driven a long distance on the highway, like 2 hours on the highway. And I looked at the temperature gauge. Just happened to notice temperature gauge was showing cold. And I said, you know, maybe you got a thermostat that's stuck open, but I would think even a stuck open thermostat wouldn't have a temp gauge being cold. It was actually, she'd been idling in my driveway for a while, so thermostat probably. Anyway, so I got investigating that, and what I did was I found this model only had one coolant temp sensor. I think these cars can come with two different models, but this one only had the one. And I did some reading on it, and before I took it out, there are two little teeny tiny contacts in there, two little connectors. Well, it's one connector, but what you have to do is the wire harness, to get the connector off of this, you need to squeeze the sides of it together and then wiggle it and pull it back. Not the sensor, but the part that goes over the sensor, the wire harness part. Squeeze together and kind of wiggle back and forth until it pulls off. So once I got it off, I could see the pins, and they were a little bit corroded, and I put I got an ohm meter on there. Not directly. I had to use some little jumper wires that would, could slide over those pins. But anyway, I measured the resistance, and it was way out of tolerance. I forget what it was now, but it's written on in the Haynes manual for that car. You'll probably find it online somewhere too. Anyway, it was out of tolerance for a car that should be hot. So then I took some resistors. I don't know if I still have them here. No, I do. Just some basic resistors. I had an assortment of these little resistors you buy at the Source, Radio Shack, any electronics parts store. And what I did was, you really got to kind of know a little bit about resistance values of those resistors. But anyway, in the manual it said the sensor should be, let's make up a number, 1,000 ohms at 50 degrees Celsius. And I thought, okay, well the car's probably at 50 degrees Celsius. So I took a 1,000 ohm resistor and but I connected it to the two contacts in the wiring harness. Basically taking the real sensor right out of the mix, and then started the car, and the temp gauge went right up to halfway. So I knew it wasn't a problem with the gauge, and I knew the sensor was also bad. Well, when I took the sensor out, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, right there in the part of the sensor, the bulby part that you're looking at. Of course, I'm sure my camera sucks, but anyway, I can see a complete crack right in the insulator at the end of that sensor, and they're known for this. And one of the things that is a giveaway that the sensor's got a crack in it is when you take the wire harness off and you look in the end where the contacts are, if you see coolant there, that's not supposed to be there, and the coolant has leaked right through the whole sensor out to the wiring harness part. So anyway, so I knew the sensor was bad. And I got one at Canadian Tire. It's funny how it's listed. Their part number is 020-7958-2, and then the actual model number, WT5029 Air Charge, is the wording beside the model number. And before tax, it was $16.13. So what a bargain. We put a new sensor in, and the car worked great. She drove it for another year. So anyway, that's the dealio with bad temperature sensors, and the type of impacts they have on a car. And oh, one other thing is you need a deep socket to get this bad boy out. And let me just check. I'll see if I can find one to tell you what size it is for sure, because I remember fooling with it to try and find the right socket size. Not 12. Bigger than 12. Bigger than 12. Yeah, 13 mil deep socket. Fits perfectly. So, you want to make sure you got the right size socket, because you do not want to round that little brass part off. Anyway, there you go. Good luck with your coolant temperature sensor troubleshooting.